Have you ever wondered why you're not getting a job even though you're qualified to do the job? Sometimes it just takes a shift in perspective. Over the past decade, I've worked as a professional recruiter and career coach for companies like Google, Lyft, Uber, and TikTok. And I've seen firsthand a lot of the mistakes that job seekers make. So today I'm going to tell you the honest truth about why you're not getting hired and what you can do to fix it. First, I'll go over common mistakes that are holding you back. Second, I'll give you actionable steps to correct these mistakes. And then some techniques to help you stand out and impress employers. Now, before we get into the tips, I need you to visually understand that your job search process is a lot like a row of dominoes. If you remove a piece, the rest of the dominoes won't fall. Each piece represents the most important part of the entire hiring process: risk. Employers want candidates who are going to fit in well with their existing teams without causing any issues. If you present yourself as someone who's low risk and dependable, you're going to improve your chances of getting a job offer. So for example, if they hire you, are you going to be able to get along with other teammates? Would you quit after a short period of time? If you have ambitions outside of work, like a side hustle or startup, the recruiter or hiring manager may think that you may not be giving 100% in your job. So demonstrating that you're stable and reliable is going to make you a much more attractive candidate. Developing a clear job search strategy. Imagine you get invited to your friend Brian's house for a party. You get in the car, you start driving, but then you realize that you actually have no idea where Brian lives. You didn't ask for the address, you didn't check a map. This is exactly what it's like for the job search when you don't have a clear strategy. If you don't know what job you want or what industry you're targeting, you're essentially just driving around without a destination. You need a clear strategy of what industries you want to work in and what jobs you're actually targeting. Just like you get to Brian's address, plan your route to define your career goals and then tailor your resume to the roles you're aiming for and follow a strategic plan to get there. Applying to jobs that match your qualifications. Imagine you're trying to unlock a door, but you have a bunch of keys, but none of them fit. It's frustrating, time-consuming because you're not using the right key. This is what it's like when you apply to jobs that don't match your qualifications. Applying to jobs that are a good match for your skill set and your background are going to increase your chances of getting a new job. Rewriting the resume. If you've been sending out your resume and you're not getting any interest, then your resume needs some updating. Resumes are documents that highlight your prior experience and how it relates to the job that you're applying for. Check out this video where I go more in depth on how you can tailor the resume to the jobs that you're applying for. During an interview, employers value candidates who will fit well with their team culture and who are easy to work with. Building rapport during the interview is just as important as demonstrating your qualifications. And whatever you do, don't swear. Even if the interviewer is friendly, maintain a professional demeanor. Remember, your goal is to impress and show them that you're a right fit for the role and for the company. Give authentic answers. Job search coaches will tell you to practice generic answers for your interview, and we don't want to do that. The reason why is because if you give a generic answer, you're literally just going to sound like everybody else. So what you want to do is you want to give an answer that has a basis of that generic answer. But what you want to do is you want to build on top of that and actually give an authentic answer that's authentic to you. So for example, when you're in an interview and they ask you a question like, what's your greatest weakness? Obviously, you're not supposed to say perfectionism, but instead you can say something like time management. What you'll do is you'll bring it up as a weakness, and then you'll talk about the things that you've been able to do to overcome these weaknesses. This will demonstrate that you have self-awareness about what your actual weaknesses are. And that's going to be much more authentic and it'll make you stand out a lot better than other candidates. Provide examples in interviews. I can't tell you how many times I've asked candidates to give me an answer and they're not actually able to give me examples for their answers. I use the STAR framework, which is the situation, task, action, result framework. The importance of asking questions. At the end of your interview, the interviewer is going to ask you, do you have any questions? Or if you're interviewing with a hiring manager, you can ask about some of the challenges that they've had on the team. What are some of the projects that they've worked on? If you're interviewing with a recruiter, it's perfectly fine to ask about a benefits package because you're speaking to the recruiter directly. Another risk is rescheduling your interviews. If that's something that's underneath your control, I would say try not to reschedule your interviews too often. Don't speak negatively about your prior jobs or your prior managers. If someone asks, Why is it that you're leaving your current employer, or why'd you leave your last employer? Talk about the things that you're going towards, not the things that you're running away from. After your interview, send your thank you notes. In some industries, thank you notes are expected, and others they're not. So ask the recruiter if you should send a thank you email or not. And if not, then I wouldn't worry about it. And it's okay to follow up with the recruiter. Ask the recruiter at the end of your interviews when to expect to hear an answer, and then follow up after that. There's something I want you to know about the job search process. You could do everything right. You could have the perfect resume. You could have the perfect interview with the recruiter, the perfect interview with the hiring manager, the interview panel. And even though you could do everything right, you may still not get that job offer. And it's because of things that are outside of your control. A company may lose headcount, or maybe someone else on the team quits. And so what they decide to do is they decide to change up the entire team. When that happens, don't get upset. Don't be upset or disappointed within yourself. Just realize that sometime down the road, they'll remember you again, and they'll reach out to you and say, hey, I know it didn't work out last time, but we've got another opening. We think you might be great for this. And the other thing too is recruiters, hiring managers, interviewers, they'll move on to other companies. And if that recruiter really liked you and they're hiring for another company, they're going to reach out to you and say, hey, do you remember me? Like, I was hiring for this role at this company. Now I'm at this company and I'm hiring for a similar role. Would you be interested? Let's say you're in your interviews and the subject of salary expectations comes up and you feel stuck and frozen. Check out this video where I give you all the steps and explain exactly in depth how compensation and salary negotiations work.